Hey, River, do you want to say something on the microphone?
Knock,
You want to tell a joke?
knock.
Who's there?
Duck.
Duck who?
Quack.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Obstacle Racing Media Podcast with Matt B. Davis. With over 200 episodes since 2012, Matt has produced the most consistent podcast in OCR. Each episode, Matt speaks with race directors, athletes, and industry insiders to bring you the most in-depth interviews and conversations in the world of obstacle racing, adventure runs, and ultra marathons. If you have small children nearby, now's the time to put on some headphones or send them off to watch Phineas and Ferb, as there are occasionally four-letter words which are never bleeped. Now, here's your host, Matt B. Davis.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Obstacle Racing Media Podcast. I am your host, Matt B. Davis. It's Monday, the 17th, and guess what? I'm bringing you an episode every Tuesday. Which means I record on Monday. This is the new Matt Davis, the one that's organized, the one that broke up with the guy who's not organized. You're going to learn more about that on Anders Varner Part 2, which I promise I'm going to get to. I have 11 interviews on the board right now. 11. I didn't realize I had that many. This is what you call an overload of great content. I'm eventually going to get to it. We're either going to be doing multiple episodes, weeks, or maybe we'll lose a couple of them. But there's some great ones coming up, and I'll announce those at the end of the episode. But first, let's do the Patreons. First and foremost, the latest Patreon who gets the weekly. Here we go with the most recent Patreon. It's Bethany Shimmer. Welcome, Bethany. Sophia Harnedy, Sean Rombo, Scott Sebastian, Dave Claxton, Brad Howwagon, Will Hicks, Eric Wilkin, Eric Marin. Am I missing anybody? Tyler Bond. Thank you, all of you. The weekly shout out. You get the weeklyshoutout.com. Let's read some iTunes reviews. Now, I have found a program called My Podcast Reviews, which conglomerates all your recent reviews from all over the world. I was doing it the long, hard way that Will Hicks described to me, where you type in the different initials. But Will Hicks and anyone listening, mypodcastreviews.com, the free one, pulls all the iTunes from all over the world. You can pay for other versions, which will scrape other things, but I'm just doing this one for now. And I believe I've gone through the ones that I've already read. I may repeat one, and if I do, enjoy. This one I know I never read, and this is titled Love It by Amingwak Lena from Denmark. She left it, I said she? Is it a she? I'm totally making up that it's a she. Let's do a little thing here. Let's do a little googly goog. And it is a woman. Oh, we follow each other. I totally follow you. We totally follow each other. Awesome. Now I am so much less embarrassed. Hooray. And she said, "Hey, Matt, just Matt. I love your podcast. I listen to it every week at work or when I'm running. Thank you for extra motivation. Your awesome and cute kids' voices. Greetings from the one and only Greenlandic obstacle course racer, Amingwak Lena Matthewson." Now, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, please correct me. But you've come all the way from Denmark to leave me a review, and that means a lot. The next one is one that I also believe I may have read, but it goes all the way back to 1972. I just said 1972 when I meant November 2017. And it's by Ryan Mack, 6'7". I discovered the ORM podcast about 2 years ago now, and it just keeps getting better. Matt is a great interviewer and always finds intriguing people to have on the show. He also always has a pulse in the OCR world and keeps the listeners up to date with what is happening worldwide. His genuine nature and raw, real-life moments make this podcast fantastic. So whether you have or haven't run an OCR, after listening to this podcast, you'll want to, after hearing Matt and the people he interviews, keep doing you, my friend. Always love it. Thank you, Ryan Mac 67. Super duper appreciate that. Already read that one. Now here we go. Beast from the East 001 from Canada. Always love listening to Matt. He is always down to earth, and you can tell he truly loves what he's doing. He's always having fun, and everyone happy to speak with him. Keep up the awesome podcast. Listener for life. I hope so, because that was a year ago, and I don't know if I've read it, so thank you. Beast from the East, 001. And the final one will be... No, I believe I've read the rest of these. So thank you. If you want to go leave a review for me in any country, do that. And I won't even have to search. I won't have to do that hard thing to find it next time. So do that for me, and I would appreciate it. Real quickly, back on the Patreon tip, patreon.com/obstacle racing media. It's a way for you to support content creators like me for as little as $1 a month. When you get upwards of $5 and $10, you get your name in the hat, and I give away really cool stuff. Go to that Patreon page. You'll see the kind of things I've given up. I have not had the drawing yet for December. I do apologize. We will have that drawing very soon. No excuse is a good excuse. Just know that it's coming, and we'll have fun, good, free goodies in it for you. On today's program, Dr. Lara Pence, a.k.a. Dr. Laura, a.k.a. Joe DeSantis calling her Dr. L. Now, if you're as old as me, you know that Dr. Laura used to have her own show, a different Dr. Laura. This is not that. This is the new Dr. Laura, the Spartan Up Dr. Laura. She does brief episodes. I've listened to some of them. They're brief little shots of goodness. I want to say in the morning. I assume they're released in the morning. You know, Joe DeSantis said, we put all this focus into our physical health. Why don't we have any with mental health? So even Joe D getting woke on the mental health, Joe DeSantis, and we've got Dr. Laura, who I had no idea who she was other than Joe DeSantis saying, Matt, have you talked to Dr. Laura? Our new, I forget what he calls her. He gives her one of those cool titles, but she's awesome. And we met briefly. We had this nice chat in Tahoe, where the same exact room where you heard Johnny Waite and Joe, where you heard Charlie Brenneman from the other day. I can see the couch in my mind now. It overlooked, I forget what obstacle we were looking at, but it was right there at the end of Saturday, that championship day. So I might get tired in the middle of this. I don't remember, honestly. But I think I held it up. I think I held it together at the end of a very long day. But let's dive in. Let's talk to Dr. Laura. Away we go. So let's start with your name and your role.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Lara Pence, otherwise known as Dr. L to Spartan, as the Chief Mind Doc.
Chief Mind Doc, which is a position that Joe DeSantis made up.
Totally made up. He also kind of made up my name.
What were you doing before that?
Well, it's still what I'm doing, actually. I'm a licensed psychologist that practices in Dallas.
Okay, I'm glad. Do you know Dr. Death?
No. Who's Dr. Death?
You haven't heard this podcast?
No.
Oh my God. There's this spine surgeon that was like doing horrible things to people, and it's a famous podcast now called Dr. Death, and he was in Dallas. Anyway, I thought it was big news.
Oh, I missed that news.
Okay, do you listen to podcasts at all?
A little bit. I've started more that I've been doing them. I feel like now I need to get into them more, so I've been listening to a little bit more.
Yeah, who do you listen to?
The Unbeatable Mind.
Okay.
Impact Theory.
Got it.
Spartan Up podcast, of course.
Of course.
Let's see. Rich Rolls.
Yep.
And I think it pretty much ends about there.
Right.
Yeah. Any other good ones you recommend?
Well, here's the thing. When I started doing this once upon a time, there was kind of, like, that was kind of it. There was a lot, like, there was the Rich Rolls and the Tim Ferrisses, and, like, then there was, like, This American Life, which was more like stories.
Right, yes.
Now you can go down any wormhole possible.
Yeah.
So, ton of true crime stuff, right?
Oh, I did. I actually have listened to one of those, yes.
If you're a sports guy, there's sports ones. If you're a movie person, there's, like, you can go down anything. So it really depends on what you're into. So I kind of rotate between, so I always listen to the kind of the stuff going on in the obstacle stuff, and then I have gone down that, like, the sort of serial podcast sort of, like, there's, like, they tell stories.
Yes.
So that Dr. Death is, I highly recommend it.
Ooh,
Dirty John, have you heard of that one?
No.
Oh my God, so good.
Really?
Especially, like, if you're into, like, how people, like,
is that
think
another
and stuff.
true crime kind of?
Yes, but it's just like, what the twists and turns of Dirty John. Don't look it up. Just listen to it.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Ooh.
Because it's not just true crime. It's like where people. It's just fascinating.
I love that.
Yeah. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in New Hampshire.
Okay. New Hampshire?
Yeah, New Hampshire. A small town. called Hanover, which is where Dartmouth College is. So college town, super kind of insulated, white privilege, not very diverse, but a great town to grow up in. And then
The fall is probably gorgeous.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Winters were great.
Right.
Yeah. White, beautiful.
Right.
It was a great place to grow up. Not a whole lot to do. I mean, like our Friday nights basically consisted of hanging out at a gas station. But, when you're a kid, it doesn't really matter.
Right. And what did you want to be?
So, I mean, I was very into sports growing up, always playing soccer and basketball and climbing trees and being outside. So there were times when I thought about it'd be cool to be an athlete. But then very quickly, actually, it was in 8th grade when I learned about therapists, and I decided I wanted to be one.
Had you been in therapy at that point?
No. Mm-mm. I did not go into therapy until I was in graduate school, and it was recommended. If you want to be a good therapist, you have to know what it's like to sit on the other side.
Right.
But no, I'd never been in therapy. I took a behavioral science course in 8th grade, and that was super interesting to me that
Nobody grows up and wants to be a therapist.
I know, it's sort of weird.
Unless maybe their parents are.
Yeah, and mine were not. Mine were in the film business. Yeah.
In New Hampshire?
They started a film festival
called
the Telluride Film Festival.
That's famous.
It is, yes. Yeah, it's a famous film festival.
Your parents started that festival?
That's correct, yeah.
Well, isn't this a fucking small world?
The podcast gets more interesting and interesting. Yeah. So, no, they were in the film world, and organizing a film festival is a little bit of a different side than being in the film business.
No, I understand, but tell people younger than us who might not know what it is.
So,
younger than me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. They started it with the goal of just having a party around film and developing a place where people could come and celebrate film. And it continued to be that year after year, and they would really search out interesting and independent projects, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and now it has pretty significant legs. I think the last 10 film festivals, they've premiered the Best Picture for the Oscar. I mean, it's got some wheels now. They're now retired. They retired a few years ago.
So other people run it.
Right.
So once upon a time, there was Sundance and Telluride, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Now there's 14 just around Sundance, right?
Yeah,
There's Slam Dance and No Dance. And
yeah.
But I assume even that, everything has to be, just so different now with streaming and with how things are made and sold. It has to be. So they're probably thrilled to be done.
Well, that's exactly, actually, I think, why they got out. Because it became bigger than they ever imagined it to be, which is amazing, right? When, you can't even dream as big as what happens.
Right.
But they were ready. The industry was moving really fast, and they had been doing it for 34 years.
Right.
And so they decided to pass the torch.
But do you have any, Paul Newman, fed me cookies when I was a kid kind of stories? I don't know. Do you have any famous people, did stuff with you when you were a kid?
Not really. I did have an interesting conversation with, and now, of course, his name is totally leaving my brain, Johnny Depp, when I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah, he offered me a glass of wine.
See, I knew a story like that was possible. Yeah. I guess Paul Newman and cookies. I was off a little bit.
Yeah, Johnny Depp and wine. It might actually have been vodka. I'm not sure. But, we went up to his hotel room after giving him an award.
Hang on. You with your parents?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's a little...
Yeah. No. Nothing saucy or anything like that.
Okay, so
he was with Kate Moss. Kate Moss was there.
Right. Remember when Kate Moss was the thing?
Yeah. Whatever happened to her?
Let's don't Google it. It'll be sad.
Yeah, okay.
She probably looks horrible.
Good point. Good point. No, so that's, I think, maybe, I've had conversations with other people, and Chuck Jones was a good friend of my parents. He's the man who created Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. So he would draw pictures for us and stuff when we were kids, which was pretty special to have those. But no, that's the thing about my parents, is that that was not their jam either. They wanted to celebrate film. They weren't interested in fame or really even rubbing shoulders with people who were famous. They just loved that people would create experiences for other people that drew out emotions and drew out story in a way that other mediums couldn't. So it's pretty great.
But you're like, hey man, I'm gonna
I'm going to go be a therapist.
I'm going to go.
Which they were totally supportive of.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was we never had sort of this, like, you're going to do what we do. I mean, it was hard. It was really hard work. It was nonprofit, so it was really, really hard.
Where did you go to school?
So I went to undergrad at Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York.
Okay.
And then I went to graduate school at a place called Widener University in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does one end up in Texas?
I know, right? Well, my roommate from college was from Dallas. So she and I were quite close. And then after I graduated from undergrad, I spent a year in Dallas. Just, I was like, I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. So I was totally just putzing around,
right.
Waiting tables, being a hostess, doing nothing and feeling great about it. And because I knew graduate school was around the corner and then like my life would start.
Right.
And then I met my husband and then went to graduate school. And then when I finished graduate school, I got a fellowship in Dallas and we moved back. And so we've been there for 10 years.
Okay. Kids, no kids?
2 kids. Almost 8 and 4 boys, thank goodness.
Why do you say thank goodness?
Because I work a lot with women. It's a lot.
They got a lot going on up here.
Yeah. So I love having boys.
Yeah.
Plus they're just cool. They're just a jam. They're so much fun.
They're also quite destructive.
Very. Yeah. Lots of beating up.
So my daughter is 11. My sons are 9 and 5.
Wow.
And my middle son, okay, you ready for this? Is my favorite. Okay.
I like the honesty. I appreciate it.
But he also kind of needs it. Like he's a lot of work.
Well, he's the middle.
Yeah, but I mean, it's beyond that.
Yeah,
like
but it's good that he's your favorite.
Age, like I'm the baby and I have whatever issues I have with that. It's
right,
like,
right.
I don't even give you that. Like that's that. Like let's call that like the armchair psychology stuff. Forget that. Just he's a lot of work. We'll get to that. We'll get to him. But oh man, I'm sorry. I'm quite tired. So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, man.
Yesterday I got to this point where I was so tired by like 5 o'clock, I almost felt high.
Oh no, that happens.
Yeah.
Sure. So wait a minute. So you met Joe where?
I know, that's a good segue.
He was. Let me just say this. Joe is. I'm going to say not a therapy guy.
No, I would agree.
Doesn't even hug people.
No. Yeah, we fist bump when we see each other.
Right.
It's weird.
I force him to hug me sometimes to
I
make him
love that.
awkward.
That's great.
And when I have a call with him semi-regularly, he was so excited. Oh, we met this great lady. Like, he was so excited about it. He thought, and again, it's like you got to get into his sort of, what do you call it?
Eyesight?
Like
wheelhouse?
He was like, oh, well, if we get people's bodies fit, why shouldn't we get their minds fit? Like, that's what he said. It's like, oh, because
Right.
that's Joe's sort of language.
Yes.
Of, right?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Well, it's crazy, really. I got a random phone call from a gentleman who's been working with Joe for a while and doing some documentary work with him and stuff like that. And they wanted me to be a part of this documentary they were doing with Cal Fussman.
Is it Skywalker?
No.
Johnny?
Rory Dean.
I don't know, right?
Yeah, he's like one of these behind-the-scenes guy that nobody can say no to. So he's fantastic. And so he called and we had a short conversation and he was like, I love what you're saying already. Do you mind saying it on camera? And I said, no. I mean, no. So we're going to be down in Dallas doing some stuff with the AT&T Stadium race, the Stadium Sprint in Dallas.
Right.
And we'd love to come in and film you. So Joe and Cal showed up at my office and we did a little therapy session and then Joe at one point, like we just in the middle of the session, he just turned and said, "You're awesome." And I said, "Thank you." And then he said, "Let's do something together." And I said, "Why not?" And here I am.
So that's super cool.
Yeah, it was pretty. Oh, little kiddo. It's a pretty cool. Pretty great. I don't know, sort of shift a little bit away from what I was doing, but it was at a great time because I was looking to do something a little bit different than what I was doing. So
Right.
I was available to saying yes, and so when I said yes, it felt right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw my first therapist, I think, actually my family went. It didn't really go so well, I think, when I was younger. But at 20, I found a guy, and he was awesome.
Yeah?
And I felt like it was the greatest thing in the world. I was like, because like at that age, you're kind of pretty ready, I think, for a lot of stuff to come out anyways.
Yeah.
But then the next few I had were pretty bad.
They were? What made them so bad? I'm always so interested in that.
So I went to see a guy. I was in LA, and I went to see this guy. And the first time I saw him, I just didn't get that great of a vibe. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it. You don't, like, always click right away. So I went the second time. And he was like, not ready for me. And that was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And I waited and waited and waited. And he was like he was clearly, like, disorganized. You know what I mean? And I just thought, like, this is not okay.
No, if he can't be organized, how can he organize your mind? Yeah.
And then I stepped in there and he started asking me questions, and it was apparent that
He didn't know who you were?
no. and I was like, when you're in a fragile state, like, I was, like, devastated and fucked up, and I wrote a check in the middle and handed it to him and left.
Good for you, actually.
Not really. I wish I had written him the check. It was like,
Oh, good point.
he was like,
I like that.
It was like $90, and I didn't have $90 to spend at that time. And then, interestingly enough, he actually called me. He was like, well, can you give me feedback? And I told him, I said, yeah, it's like, you weren't prepared for me. They didn't even know who I was. Anyhow, so I always tell people, because people are like, oh, I've never done it. I'm like, listen, it's like anything. It's like, you got to kind of shop around.
That's totally right.
But it's really hard to shop around because I'm going to sit down with you. We're going to invest an hour.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm in a super fragile state.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I make myself available, and I think most therapists should do this, to like a 20-minute, and I know it's only 20 minutes, but like meet and greet. I don't charge, but it at least gives them a feel of what my style is like, and they can make a choice of like, okay, because I think pretty quickly you get to sense my style. So when you're in a room with me, I think pretty quickly you'll get to understand that I'm more direct, that I'm much more active, that I'm sarcastic, I like to use foul language, like...
Well, then I'm on that team.
Right. I think that's what Joe liked me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I feel like, if there are any therapists out there listening, like, do that. Make yourself available.
Did you know that, like, we've segmented my audience, and I have them, like, therapists, I have, like, 99%. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry. I was trying to make a joke, and then I lost it.
No, I would say, but I think that's I think in any really, like, position you're in where you're helping somebody else, if they're going to invest in you, then you have to take some time to make sure that you're the right investment for them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I've always been like an emotions in my sleeve kind of person.
Yeah.
Very like
out there.
Yeah, and like better for worse, that's who I am, and I've never, and like that's why I do this, right?
It's great,
and people like it, and whatever. So, a year and a half ago, I started having like serious issues, right? Like, I always describe it as sort of like base level anxiety.
Okay.
Like, is the check going to come this week? Kind of, can
like
I pay
worry.
this bill?
Yeah.
Right? But I never experienced like true anxiety, right? And I'm someone who's done a lot of work on myself. I'm sober a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I've done a lot of self-help stuff. Like, so in December of, I guess it was 2016, I was like kind of out of my mind, and what I know now is like a manic episode, but I didn't know it at the time because, right?
Yeah.
So
because you don't know, usually, like the first time you don't know.
I was like up at 5 every morning getting all this work done. I'm super productive. I always say this, like I dyed my hair blonde, and that doesn't mean that just because you dye your hair, you're having manic episode. But when I look back at those Facebook pictures, I'm like, that guy is mental. Like, I look at that person like, because I would not do that today.
Right.
So then the crash from that was so, like, I wanted to die.
Yeah.
Like literally wanted to die.
Yeah.
And it turns out, like, I got diagnosed bipolar, and it was like, oh, this is good to find out at like age 45 and like 17 years sober.
Right.
Like,
right.
Woohoo.
Jeez.
Right? So I started, talking about it, and I posted about it a little bit. And because I'm very out there and very vocal, like, I knew like I'd get some stuff online that was like, hey, we're looking at, like, I knew I'd get some, but the feedback was like literally overwhelming.
Like positive, you mean?
Oh yeah, like so many messages.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, no, it was like literally overwhelming. Like, I went back and tried to answer like every single message, and I couldn't. Right. And what I ended up doing, and again, I'd be like, I've done a lot of work on myself. Like, I was Mr. like anti-meds like forever.
Yeah.
Because I think the world's over medicated and my whole family's on meds and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Now 5 years ago, before all this, I started taking some anti-anxiety. I had started taking stuff for ADHD, and then I ended up taking it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but when this happened, it was like nothing worked, and it was horrible, and I did an outpatient thing, and
How was that?
great.
It was.
Phenomenal.
How long did you do it for?
6 weeks.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Like IOP, like
Yeah.
you go for...
Yep.
But it's the funny thing that I tell people. It's like, so the first day you go, the first day I go, and it's like, this is bullshit. It's not going to work. Of course.
Right.
It's the worst day of your life.
Right.
Right. So that, people who work there are fucking saints. Because everybody goes there thinking, I don't need to be here and this is bullshit.
That's exactly right.
And I'm sitting there like in the room and like this person's talks to themselves and this person does this. And I'm like, these people are like, right? And then like, oh, wait a minute. Like I'm in this seat.
Right. Bingo.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I say about this whole experience is it gave me such a massive dose of compassion, and I'm someone that could have used a massive dose of compassion.
I love that.
Okay?
I love that.
So, for example, if you came to me and said, I'm depressed, I might say to you, well, you better get over that shit, sad sack.
Man up.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is the part where people really, it's so hard to explain unless you've lived with it.
I
Either
get it.
had it or somebody in your family had it.
Right.
Because with all the stuff going on now, Bourdain and all the celebrities and all the rest of it, there was like, oh, well, don't be silent about it and reach out to people. And it's like, listen, like there is nothing to do. Right? Like I was on a podcast recently and the woman's like, well, what can I do? I'm like, tell the person you love them.
Yeah.
Meet them where they're at.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
But I think people want to do something and they don't understand.
Well, I think what people don't understand is that is doing something. Saying I love you and meeting them where they're at is doing something. It's like the athletes today. It's like they think of sometimes rest as not doing something. Like, well, if I'm resting, I'm not doing something. Like I need to be doing something. I need to be doing squats, or I need to at least be doing something, moving my body. But resting is intentional and purposeful. Like you do it so that you reduce your risk of injury, so that you don't burn out. All of these things. It's the same thing with I'm so on parallel with you about there's only so much that individuals can give you. You have to make your own choices, right? But they can give you love and support. That is giving you something. That is doing something. It's just not what's in your wheelhouse of, well, I want to be like doing more. I think we need to reframe that a little bit, because saying I love you is actually like doing a lot. And meeting you where you're at and just listening, that's actually doing a lot. But a lot of people don't think that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, like I said, for someone that already had done a lot of work on myself, this was a whole new thing. And everybody was just like, oh, where did it come from? And it's like, I can't tell you what snapped in my brain that day or week or month.
Right.
That I'd kind of always sort of managed it or self-medicated or whatever.
Yeah.
And then whatever stopped working. And I was like couldn't leave my house.
So when you told your story about it and you got lots of support, did other people have stories to share with you about their own experience?
Well, here's so like doing this, I've never been the motivational guy, the life hack guy, the tips and tricks guy. I'm just like the pretty fun guy that talks to people.
Like a mushroom fun guy?
What's that?
Like a mushroom fun guy?
Just, I guess, entertaining would be the right.
Yeah.
So when people come up and say, like, you really, like, thank you for doing that because, like my wife didn't leave the house for a month and nobody understands, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that people said, or, hey, man, I've been there and have my own stuff. I was just on a podcast the other day and we said on the show, to this woman's show, if you listen to this, like, shoot me a message. And, like, I talked about doing gratitude lists and, like, I said, shoot me and people did it. And so it's like,
that's awesome.
Dude, it's so great because even though I know it's out there, it's just always super nice.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right. Again, because like I never set out to do that. And I sort of hate on a lot of that stuff because it seems so forced and fake.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think sometimes the intentions with which people share, it's, I don't ever want to judge anybody else's intentions, but I do think that sometimes we There's a lot of oversharing happening, I think, in our world right now, which, again, it's great that people are telling their stories and all of that. But it sounds like where you were coming from is just like a place of like, this is me. Like, it sounds like before that, you weren't afraid of being exactly, the fun guy who just sort of shoots the shit and like does the interviews that might be a little bit crazy. And like, that's just who you are. So if this other piece was like new, but in your life in a prominent way, then why wouldn't you share that? It's nothing to be shamed about.
Right. But it was still like, do people care? Like all that stuff.
I gotcha. I hear you.
Right. And even now, once in a while, I'll get messages that's like, hey, it sounds like you're doing really well and I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe the literal, I just had no idea. Like people were so, I think just honestly, I think they're surprised by it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, because there is so much ingenuine things out there or not genuine things that people really latch on to things that they feel are like real.
Sure. Well, and probably also a lot of people felt like they know you. So for you to share, it's like that strengthens the connection, that deepens the connection.
So you studied and grew up in a time where social media didn't exist.
Right.
So here we are.
Right.
There is so much good that can come from it.
I agree.
Right?
Uh-huh.
All these people, right? Like, not to toot my own horn.
No, toot away.
If you were to walk with me,
yeah,
right, from here to there, we're going to get stopped a lot.
Really?
Right? So that's...
You would be the jam?
I mean, I'm not Lindsay, but, close.
You're kind of Lindsay, though.
Right?
Yeah.
So, right? And that's because
of social media.
Well, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm connected to those people because of that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I totally get it.
So, this... It was... Did you see the documentary? Did you see Rise of the Sufferfest?
No.
You should probably see that.
I know. Well, where can I find it?
I want to say Amazon.
Okay, because I looked like a few weeks ago when I heard
Just
Amelia
Google,
Boone say something about it.
You can buy it on iTunes.
Okay.
Maybe
I'll watch that tonight.
Google Rise of the Sufferfest.
Okay. Are you in it?
I'm in it. That's not why I'm telling you to watch it.
Can I have your autograph?
You cannot have my autograph. Well, there's a lot of really like big talking heads and me, but like literally, I'm the only name not on the poster. Like it's like Joe DeSena, Tim Ferriss, Morgan Spurlock, Amelia Boone. Like there's literally like 10 names
and others.
But I'm not on. But anyway, it's about all this stuff and why we do it and where we come from and obstacles in life and blah blah blah. But it said in there like this is the sport that social media built. Like the muddy picture is like
right, totally
right. So anyhow, do you have people that come to you with issues that like either addiction, they're addicted to their phones, or they're depressed or they're bullied, or like are you experiencing a lot of that?
Yeah, a lot of that. I mean, I think I couldn't agree with you more that I think there's so much good that can come from social media. And like most things, there's a lot of bad that can come from it too. I mean, it's like anger. Like a lot of good can come from being angry.
It can?
Yeah.
Like
if somebody sexually harassed me and that fucking pissed me off, and I go and I report them, and then they get fired, and then I learn that they did it to 10 other people. There you go. That's anger that motivates me to do something that then does good, right?
Okay.
Or it's like, or if I'm angry because, I don't know, I stubbed my toe and it was a bad morning, and then I just decide to be, a raging asshole to the person who's making my coffee, like that's not great. So, it's not the feeling itself that's good or bad. It's what you do with it. You know what I mean? So it's like social media. I know I'm such a therapist. Sorry. I can't turn it off.
Is it good or bad? Just is.
Yeah, it just is. But it's like social media. So, but yes, to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I think maybe not especially women, but I do see a handful of women that really struggle with the comparison piece of social media.
Compare and despair.
Yeah.
I got all the lingo, bro.
It's awesome.
I've been in the self-help game a long time.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
Me and my friend, we both say, my friend Dominic, we say that we're recovering seminar junkies.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it's like 199 or less, we'll do it. Like what's the subject? I don't care. 199 or less, we're in. Like we'll go.
That's amazing.
But I'm sort of like over that now. It's like I know you can never stop learning, but I'm kind of like, okay, I'm not signing up for anything for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's like people who read like 1,000 self-help books. All you really need is one. They say the same things over and over again.
Well, you know what I heard on a podcast recently? I think it was on the Tim Ferriss podcast. This guy said, how many books do you read a year? He said, I start about 300. But he said, there's only about 100 that I finish.
Yeah.
He says, because when I kind of get the joke, I stop. I never heard that in my life. I thought you had to finish the book.
What? You just learned this?
Dude, like 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So a self-help or any kind of book like that where you hit like page 40, 50 and they start to repeat themselves, you're like, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, I totally got it.
I never knew I could do that.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like a movie I had to sit through. Well, before Netflix, right?
No.
Now we all just stop
I was
and
going
start
to say,
over.
you don't sit through all the movies,
But I
do
used
you?
to. I used to put on a movie or a documentary and I was in.
Yeah.
I'm in for a dime, in for a dollar.
Yeah.
Now anyway, so yeah.
That's very funny.
Well, I mean, but that's like, I think you can get more than one self-help book. I think there's a few.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of different nuggets you can get from different books. But
Right.
but I do think that people can like binge on self-help books and they're not soaking it in.
Well, it's also what like people like when you tell people that you get sober and you go to meetings, like, oh, it looks like you just go to meetings now and that's your new addiction. It's like, yeah, and I'm not getting arrested or trying to kill anybody or sleep with my friend's wife. So I'm going to say that going to meetings is an okay addiction for me.
Right.
Anyhow,
I like that.
right.
I like that. That's good.
Right.
So anyway, social media. Yeah. So it's there. It
So
can
a lot of
connect
compare and
people,
despairing
but a
going on.
lot of comparing and
But
despairing.
we know.
No, we don't know that it's fake.
Not that, yeah.
No, we
What's
don't know.
the big saying now? Like, oh, they're trying to show you their front stage and not their backstage and blah, blah, blah. Do you need to get something? Do you need to?
No, I just didn't know why it was buzzing. Wait, I've never heard that. Show you your front stage, but not your
How do you
backstage?
Come on now. I'm going to have to school you on all this stuff?
Yes, please. No, because I want to be in the know.
Okay, so a very cheesy meme going around, and you can Google it later, is like, well, okay, have you heard comparing your insides to everybody's outsides? Have you heard
Yes,
that one?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So the social media version is that is like they're showing you the Broadway show, and they're not showing you their backstage.
Oh, I got it.
something like
I got
that. Whatever
it.
the heck that cheesy
Yeah,
is. But yeah,
okay.
it's comparing insides to outsides.
I got it.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm in the know now. Thanks for that.
You're very welcome.
Yes, well, that. Yeah. But it is funny because after I said, a lot of women do it, but I would actually say a lot of men in my practice really do that too. I mean, it's really not like a man or a woman thing. I mean, I don't think people actually do, like, it's hard to register that an image isn't real. It's just sort of hard to register that sometimes. Like
Our brains?
Yeah, like that's not our first go-to. It's not our, like, I look at that globe behind me that's like part of the trifecta of the world champ, and I would be like, yeah, that's the globe. But it could actually be like a totally different looking thing. But I'd be like, yeah, that's the globe.
Because it's
familiar,
your brain fills in the rest.
Yeah, so I just feel like a lot of, your brain fills in the rest, right?
So let's do you ready for some hashtag real talk? Because now we're going to have to get really real. Because I know I'm loaded. It's totally loaded question.
Great.
There's an awful lot of sexualization, right? Especially on the Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Are you on the Instagram?
I am on the Instagram.
So there's an awful lot of, oh, by the way, here's my butt on Instagram.
Right.
Right? It's nuts.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, and then in the same vein, the same people will post something about being over-sexualized or how much they hate men, and it's do you know what I'm saying?
Not really in alignment?
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a tad problematic. I mean, I think a lot of times, though, people really don't think about what they're posting before they post it in terms of, like, how it's in alignment with their values or not. Like, they think their ass looks good, so they post it on Instagram, but they're not thinking about, is this in alignment with my values of female empowerment? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but do they? I'm saying I don't think they think about female empowerment.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
They want to make somebody wrong for talking about their ass.
They want to make somebody wrong?
Yeah.
Wait, what do you mean? Say more.
I could spend all day. How do you not? Come on now.
No, I don't understand.
It's all ball bearings these days.
I don't understand what that phrase means. They want to make somebody wrong?
Yes. You ever just made your boss wrong, your husband wrong, and you kind of realize that's what you're doing, so you just kind of stop and try to then support them?
Oh, I don't know. That sounds like a seriously screwed up psychological tactic.
Okay, I'll give you an example of my own life. Okay? I was doing one of these mobile tours, right? We got in a van, we drove to different towns, and we promoted what we were promoting, and I had a boss who was just a little shit, right? And every day, all I did was bitch about him to the people I worked with and people back home. And somebody said, why don't you just try making him right for a day? Just for a day. Just try to make him right. Make your boss win. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And it was really hard, and I had to fake it at first. Like, hey, Bob, like, is there anything I can help you with today? So I just focused on making him right.
Okay.
So as opposed to making him wrong.
Okay.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make men wrong because they're horrible, evil pigs. That was fantastic.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was right out of a sitcom. A big Life Aid thing just broke out. So I'm going to make the men of the world wrong by posting a picture of my ass and then getting mad at them for saying something about it.
Oh, I don't think that's why women do it. I think women do it for validation.
No, I know they're doing it for validation, but the people that then say, why are men such dicks? Why are blah, blah, blah? Why are they?
I got what you're saying. Okay, I'm on board. Sorry, it took a while. The fit aid was happening. It was a lot going on
totally
right now.
okay.
Yeah. I got
That
what you're
part.
saying. Okay.
Of course they want attention, but then to act like they don't and then get mad when they do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but I think that though it goes back to that the individuals are not checking in with themselves about actually what matters to them. They're out of touch with that.
Have you ever, like, does that come up, like, in therapy nowadays?
All the time.
No, like, hey, can I look at your Instagram? And then you can be like, hey, can we talk about this? Is this what you want to be doing?
Not really. I prefer to stay out of my clients' Instagrams, but I do ask them about what they're posting.
Are they honest?
Actually, a lot of times they are.
Because I always heard that when the medical doctor asked, like, about drinking, whatever they say, they have to triple it.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. But I actually think that most of my clients are pretty honest. And if they're not, what am I going to do about it? I'm not interested in playing detective. Like, that is not my job.
So you tell them right away, like, look, I can't.
I tell that on day one.
But so if you think, let's say, for example, someone is clearly, like, has a drinking problem, but they aren't ready to see it.
Right.
Do you say, like, hey, man, have you ever looked at going to a meeting, or, like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple of ways I would handle it. One is to be like, I would probably say it exactly like this. It's really interesting to me that you don't think you have a drinking problem, but you're in debt and you spend all your money on vodka and you just got a DUI last week and you can't see your son because of it.
And when they say something super defensive to that, what's your answer?
Tell me about your defensiveness right now.
I'm not defensive for you. Do you be offensive?
I mean, I would probably literally say it like that, like sarcastically look at them and say, tell me about what are you getting so defensive about? Yeah. And then, I mean, there's only as a therapist, I mean, we as therapists only have so much power. And we sit with people for 50 minutes a week, unless you see them weekly or daily or every other day or whatever it is.
I'm sorry, our time is up.
Oh. Was this our session?
I just always wanted to say that.
Because you were being a therapist.
I just always wanted to say thank you. I think our time is up. Anyhow.
Scene. Yeah, so, I mean, I only have so much time with them, so I'm not gonna sort of beat around the bush. But at the same time, if they get defensive and I say, tell me about what's going on, like, I would probably go do this with my hand and be like, what is happening over there?
Right.
And then they're like, well, I just really don't think I have a drinking problem. I would say, I clearly understand that's what you think. Yeah. Okay.
Well, fuck you,
Awkward
lady.
silence.
Right.
Yeah. And then they come back next week.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to this social media thing because it's a very real world situation. So I have a 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And she posts basic bitch stuff. Like, literally.
What does that mean?
You know what a basic bitch is? Lady.
I know.
So in the fall, especially, the fall is the time. Pumpkin spice lattes, sweater.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
So my daughter posts a lot of those. And it's kind of cute. But she also makes videos. She started making YouTube videos. And first of all, I applaud her. Like, she's consistent. She's getting a lot. She's creative. But it's not her. She's emulating the girls that are her age and older that make these videos.
Right.
Hey guys, blah, blah. And like, if she just did her natural goofy self, hilarious.
I bet.
Which she actually does in my video. When I make a video with just goofing around and she's like her goofy self, hilarious.
I love that.
And with her little channel there, she's kind of phony. And I said to my wife, I was like, should we say something to my wife, who's smarter than I am, is like, no. Like, she needs to like figure that out. Like, that's part of growing up and like figure out who you are. But it kind of still bugs me because I know it's not really. I just know it's not her.
Yeah, she'll get there. And one of the ways she'll get there, though, is by watching you be you on yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, for real. Because the more that she sees you just be you, the more she'll start to see that her being her is okay. But she's 11. Yeah, developmentally, she's just totally trying to figure it out right now. And hopefully she'll get there. But if she doesn't get there, I also think, and, certainly the wife is always right? But
not always. In this particular case, she
right.
was. Around the kids, she's usually right.
Eventually, at one point, if she doesn't start to figure it out or starts to, continue to go down a path that seems out of alignment with who she is or inauthentic, I think it would be okay for you to edge her and be like, hey, kiddo, like, I see this over here and I see that over there. I like this over here a whole lot better than that over there. In whatever dad way that you do that I'm sure is magical.
Yep. Because that's what I am.
Girls love their dads. So
No. Look, listen. Right, but yeah. And that's one of the things. So my wife and I, both on social, happily talk about how horrible our kids are. And people love that.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, my wife would write a blog full time and not work because she kind of dabbles in it. When she does, people who don't even have kids love it. Which, if you don't have kids and you read about kids, because it's just she just spills the real.
She's real
about what it's like.
Yeah.
And there are like a few of these like mommy blogs that do that, but she just doesn't. That's not her. Not her.
We need more of that.
I know.
Yeah, we need more of that.
Right.
Because all of this, like, I'm baking a cake looking wonderful at the same time that I'm breastfeeding, and I'm also vacuuming, and, like, I also have, like, a Fortune 500 company.
Right, I'm a lawyer.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, I'm telling you. So, like, yeah, like, my middle son, like, I could honestly start crying now because it's like, he's tough, man. And he's just,
say more about the tough? Tough in what, like?
Well, he's diagnosed bipolar, and so it's a whole nother thing. Is like for him to be on meds at his age already, and this has been a couple years.
Yeah.
And my son, this is what's like. It could be as simple. Like, it's not just boys are difficult and boys are fight. It's as simple as like, you could ask him to do a chore, and like it's off the charts, right? Mm-hmm. It's off the charts. His reaction just doesn't match up.
Totally incongruent.
Yeah. And, the way he, like, constantly, like, beating the shit out of his brother. You know what I mean? Now, his little brother also does what little brother does, which is poke the bear.
Totally.
So
yeah, we have that in our house. That's awesome.
You all right?
Can you keep that in all day?
And then at night, when it's time to go to bed, like, that's where he's, like, super sweet and affectionate. And, like, it's like, where is this boy the rest of the day? Like, I think that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's hard.
How old again?
He's 9.
He's 9. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a therapist I should have some kind of solution to that, but the only solution I have is hang in. It'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean it is hard. We almost have we have almost 8 and 4. I think I might have said that earlier. But it's tough, and our oldest is definitely more emotionally sensitive, and our youngest is just a bulldozer.
Right.
And it's it's just trying to navigate it and figuring out how to parent the way that you want to parent that stems from your own stuff too. I mean, we all have our own stuff, right? And it seeps into our parenting all the time. I think, I mean, there's like, there are the standard things that kids need, right? They need love and they need boundaries. I mean, those two things are essential and key. But, it'll work itself out. I mean, he's at that age though. That's the age. But every age is the age, right? Where like your kid is just going through some stuff.
Well, and the thing with him is that, and I had to learn this, is that because I would get like louder and louder, because when you're younger that works, but then at a certain point it stops working. And for him, only more patience and only more love works.
Yeah.
Which is like, in theory, is awesome.
Yeah.
And then when you tell him it's time for dinner and he says something and you say, what did you say? And he says, shut up, or something else completely disrespectful, or doesn't like what you like. You're like, go fuck yourself, kid. Right? It's super hard.
It's very, 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 very hard.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So take it like, that's when as a parent, sometimes we just need to take those breathers. We need to go the F outside.
Well, luckily my wife and I know that with each other.
That's
and we
awesome.
give that
Exactly.
for each other. Like
Bingo.
just
Yep.
like we calm each other down
Yep.
that way.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's hard once, like, I don't know about you, but like once, like, it's hard for me to talk to people who don't have kids and relate to anything in life. Like, it's like I still go to 12-step meetings, and the problems of a 26-year-old with no kids is just like, and you hate to like compare because it's like, but come on, dude, it's like you don't even know what the fuck life is.
Right. No,
You haven't seen
totally.
shit.
No, I totally understand. My husband and I were having a conversation about that the other day, that I felt I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine who is very similar in age, just a few years older, and she does not have children. And she was just talking about time, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm having a real hard time sort of like trying to figure out how do I do the kids and how do I do this. And her response, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, no. No, I actually have to pick up my children from school. Like, they actually can't just wait outside for hours. Like, no.
Well, and it's not just the time of like taking the school and back.
No, it's
that
the mental energy.
You are never not a parent.
Right. That's exactly right.
You are never not a parent.
No,
right?
No. Mm-mm.
And then
even when you're sleeping. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, oh, thank God. Like when the boys are in bed, Emma now gets herself ready for bed. But no, when the boys are asleep, it's like, whew.
I know. Same with my husband. Yeah,
Right?
we sit on the couch. It's like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You're never not a parent.
Yes. And the hours it takes a day to be like, or then like, God forbid, then like the school calls about something and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, forget about that.
Right?
Well, that's the other thing is like just those little wrenches in your day that like if you don't have children, you don't understand that if it's the school calls and says your child has a fever and needs to go home, your entire day is fucked.
Or in my case, my son brought this old, like somebody gave me like a necklace with this old like World War II like bullet on it, which completely harmless because it doesn't even have gunpowder in it. But in 2018, you can't bring anything related to guns to school.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So, hi, Mr. Davis. We're here with Jackson. He brought a bullet to school. And at first, I was like,
what?
Because, so we live in the city of Atlanta, right? And he does hang out with sometimes kids that are not so, right?
Right.
And I'm like, and now, like, when they showed it to me and I had to explain it to them, like, and then I feel like, it's like, I swear I don't beat my wife. You feel like I'm like, listen, we don't have guns in the house. We hate guns.
Yeah.
And like in Georgia, a lot of people have guns. I mean, a lot of people everywhere have guns. We're
A lot of people in Texas.
We're right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like, do you understand? This is part of a necklace. This is an old trinket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they believed me eventually, but it's like there's kind of like a zero strike policy, and he was gonna. But you know what I'm saying?
You know exactly what you're saying.
Because they might report us for my son bringing in a bullet anyway.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, that day, whatever I had fucking planned for work,
totally down the toilet. Just break things.
right?
Yeah.
So,
totally down the toilet. Yeah.
All right. So I won't keep you too much longer. I very much enjoyed this chat, by the
It's
way.
fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Let's wrap up and talk about these folks out here.
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
and this, which the movie talks about, which you should go see. It's a lot of folks you don't see a ton of teenagers in early 20s out there because they're still out there drinking, making mistakes in life.
Yeah.
It's those of us that are 30s and 40s are like, oh, I haven't experienced this since college. I haven't experienced this since the military.
Right.
And then it kind of like, I just try to get somebody out to one, right? Because I know that if I get them out to one, they're probably going to see something in themselves they didn't
Have you
think.
ever had that happen where you've brought somebody out for one and they do it and they're like, I don't want to do it anymore?
Oh, no, plenty of times.
Yeah, okay.
Or they don't say that. They'll say they do it again, and then it just
They're
kind of
like,
time
yeah,
goes on.
all right,
But like,
yeah.
I found a guy at my high school reunion actually who did one, and I said, you should connect with this group. I'm in this Facebook group online. It's the Georgia group of obstacle racers. Now he's out there more than I am.
He's like the mayor.
Right,
of
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's bringing out something that just was just like sort of sleeping, I think,
Yes.
inside. And it's where Joe is right. Joe's wrong about a lot of things. By the way,
Well, he's not wrong. I hope he's not wrong about me.
No. But Joe is surrounded by a lot of yes people.
Tons of them.
So you gotta be one of the no people. 'Cause
Why
I
don't-
tell him that all the time.
Yeah.
I tell him, and I think an idea is really stupid. And I've been wrong too, and it turned out fine or
Yeah.
whatever. But I said, Joe, like you've got way too many people like that tell you everything's great. Like so you need to be one of those people if you're going to be in his
Well,
inner
thankfully,
circle.
Joe is just sort of giving me free reign to do
Right.
my Dr. L stuff.
Right,
and leave it there.
good. And hopefully at some point they won't push you out.
That's the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, you could. But anyway.
But he does have it right that it's inside of all of us.
And that this thing like I heard it from him first, but he didn't probably say it. Just this thing called obstacle immunity. That once you've broken through some things you never did before, you can kind of easily in your life, consciously or unconsciously, go, oh, well, this isn't worse than that time I was in Tahoe and it was 40 degrees in the water.
Exactly. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think. I talked about it actually, it feels like it was 3 days ago, but it was just yesterday on this leadership panel that I think what Joe's created here is just like a container where people get to practice, challenge, and obstacles, and then have the wisdom and knowledge to know that they're capable of it and bring it in the outside world. And that's in so many ways what therapy is, right? So like when Joe first came into my office, and he talked about and we talked about together that like this is a space where I ask people to get uncomfortable emotionally, and I bump up against the stuff that they don't want to bump up against. And then when I went to the stadium sprint at AT&T, I was like, oh, this is like the physical embodiment of what I'm doing in my office. It's just a much larger version and costs a lot more money than what it costs for me to just come and sit in my office. But so I feel like this is just a container for us to build that obstacle immunity, for us to build, the wisdom that and even like the physical wisdom, not just the mental wisdom, but also the physical wisdom and like muscle memory that we can get shit done, that we can do it, that we can be challenged and overcome.
So how are you going to deploy what it is that you do to the Spartan Nation, as it were?
Well, so we have a podcast called Spartan Mind.
So it's a whole new podcast.
It's a whole new one on Wednesdays. Yeah, you can find. So they do their Spartan Up on Tuesdays,
right?
And then our Spartan Mind. I think we're at 7 episodes now.
Are you the host?
So no, it's just me in front of the camera for like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Just talking about different. So like one subject was like flipping failure upside down. Like how do you see failure as a positive instead of a negative? Another was how do you pivot when you're in that all or nothing state? How do you increase your emotional acuity? How do you mentally rest? Like just things to kind of build up the muscle in your mind.
But it seems like that might run its course pretty quickly. I feel like we should get you talking to some people.
No, I feel like actually it could go on forever.
You doing 2-minute talks go on forever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like even what I do when I do one of those talks, and like one of them, the first one was increase your emotional acuity. I could break that down into 30 talks.
Okay.
Because there's so much there. I mean, there's so much mental stuff there. So, we'll see how it goes. I think, again, like this is a new part. We're sort of testing it out. So far, the response has been great. We'll just sort of see. But yeah, so the idea is to, the Spartan community and people who are interested in sort of the Spartan mindset and building the Spartan principles can use some of these mind tactics to build up their mental toughness, not just their physical well-being.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Okay, and so besides the podcast, what else are we going to deploy?
Well, we'll sort of see, right? Joe's sort of dipping me into things sort of all over, I think, or just getting my feedback right now on what I think about certain things. Sorry, my throat's dry. We'll see.
How are you going to deal with whatever craziness happens a lot of times, seat of the pants in the Spartan world, and your regular patients?
Well, right now, my practice is priority. And, I've always said that I don't know that I want to be in my practice forever. But for me, it's about setting boundaries. If they ask me to do something and I don't have the time to do it or I don't want to do it, it's about just saying, no, thank you. Or if they want me to do something and it's conflicting with something that I have in my life, then I've got to figure that out. I've got to make sure that I'm in alignment with my values, that the things that I prioritize are coming first, and then moving forward from there and making sure that I'm not burning the candle at both ends in so many ways. I've got to be there for my family. I've got to make sure that I'm making a living financially. And, those things are key and essential. And then whatever kind of happens after that is gravy. Yeah.
Can I ask a selfish question?
I think you can. I kind of was maybe wanting to say no to that, but I think you can.
So if someone said, "Hey, Matt, what do you want to work on in life?" I want to work on being less hateful. And like I have a couple of text groups which we just tear people apart and send memes, etc.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's horrible.
That sounds awful.
You don't have one of those?
No.
You lie.
Oh my. I would give you my phone, flip through it.
Besides your family, what text groups do you have in life?
I don't have any.
Do you have your family?
No. I mean, I have my mom and my sister. Does that count?
You don't.
I don't have an extended family.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
some people have like sisters or whatever. Most people have like a group of friends that it's fun, but like sometimes you just kind of go down some
Rabbit holes.
And I think there's a healthy amount of venting that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, I just need to let this off my chest. That person's bugging me.
Right.
But I spend way too much time doing it.
Really?
So I want to get better at that.
Here's what I would say to you.
Okay.
How old's your daughter?
11.
Okay. Let's say in 2 years you leave your iPhone out and she opens it and
Right.
she starts reading that string of texts.
Right.
Would you be able to defend it?
I mean, I'm not somebody that hides a lot from my kids. Like our kids have heard us curse and stuff. So like I don't know if that's really the issue. That doesn't really do it for me.
But if she reads that you're being unkind to somebody.
But I think she knows my wife and I so well that like she would just get on our team. She'd be like, "Yeah, that person's stupid." Your kids kind of like just take on your, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember the first time like some other kid says something about McDonald's and Jackson was like, "I would never eat McDonald's." And that's like, because that's how we talk. Like we don't fucking eat McDonald's. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think
Yeah, but I don't eat McDonald's is a lot different than like that person is an idiot.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to go somewhere else than what my daughter thinks of my text because I don't think that's not.
It wouldn't do it for you, really?
No.
Wow.
Does that make me a psychopath? I mean, like I said,
I don't think it makes you a psychopath, but wait, why was it a selfish question?
because like basically like like I feel like people find out you're a therapist and they're like, "Hey, fix me for 5 minutes." I mean, like people like do that to you, so I didn't want to be that.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't feel like it was that.
Okay, that's what I meant by selfish question.
Well, but here's the thing. It clearly what you asked that question because it's already creating enough internal distress for you.
Clearly.
Yeah. So eventually it's just going to create even more where you will change. And if you won't, then it's going to erode your insides. And you're going
I
to
think that's what's happening, though.
So then stop.
Well, listen to you. Oh, okay. I always say, why don't you just kick the crack addict? Stop smoking crack. It's not that easy.
Well, where's it coming from?
That's what. Yeah, let's figure that out.
Where do you think? Were people mean to you when you were a kid?
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes, sure.
Do you get it? Do you get something out of it? Do you feel better?
Well, I feel smart and right.
You do?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we need
I
to
like
work
to
on
be
that.
right a lot.
I feel like this. We need sessions here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more than just like a closing question. This is like you need to bring me on board for like a good week.
Okay.
Yeah. Check in.
That's my issue right now because I'm like honestly I'm pretty good in most other areas.
Could you maybe cut it down a little bit?
Well, I've done the turn the phone off for a day thing.
Okay.
And that's been super helpful. And I've even told the people that I'm in the groups, I'm like, hey, I'm not going there today.
That's good.
But then I kind of come back a day later and they go, oh, is Matt back to being mean again? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of become a joke.
What are the mean things you're going to say about me?
Well, no, I have no reason to say anything mean about you.
But I would rather you just say,
okay,
it's like
let's say hypothetically.
Yeah.
There's a guy here this weekend who I think is a douchebag. Let's just say. Okay?
I think I may have met him.
You probably did. And let's say I didn't, but I almost took a picture of him and sent to the group, hey guys, look at this big douchebag.
Yeah.
I think I found the biggest douche in OCR. It's this guy.
Yeah.
Right? That kind of stuff.
Okay, I don't
Which
feel
again, once in a while is okay.
Yeah.
But do you see what I'm saying?
I understand. I feel to me that's way less harmless than what I thought you were like ripping into people.
What's ripping into somebody?
Like making fun of them, like making fun of their appearance or making fun of the way that they talk. You don't feel like that's ripping into someone?
No, but I feel like that's like saying like, oh, like you're making fun of the fat kid. Like, no, it's not that.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Like making fun of people.
No, it's more just like in this, and again, it's all inside stuff that would make no difference to you. But if a race company or another media company that like does something and it's like so bad and like I can't even believe it, and so we just like spend 10 minutes talking about how dumb they are.
I don't know that I have such a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, I think that like being hateful and unkind is different than expressing your opinion about somebody doing something that was awful.
I know, but so then.
But it doesn't feel good to you. I can see that.
Right.
Like you
Like,
want
I'm
to
physically uncomfortable.
I can.
And you know what I say? I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to answer that. And then I'll let 5 minutes go by, and I'll be like, let me. Right.
I'm so curious about what that is. I feel like we need a much deeper dive. Yeah.
All right. Well.
But sometimes people are. I mean, sometimes people are that way. They are a little douchey, or somebody did do something that was a little bit.
You really don't
idiotic.
have a little buddy text group? You don't even have a couple girlfriends?
I really don't. Hand to God. I mean, you could flip.
Or therapist groups?
No.
You don't have any therapists that you chat with on a regular basis?
No.
She just said fuck no, ladies and gentlemen. Those therapists are as batshit crazy as anyone.
There are a lot. Yeah, I actually will verify that I think that there are a lot of individuals that go into this field because they are troubled. I can't tell you how many networking events I go to where like the most well-known substance abuse professional and practitioner is
a
getting
cokehead?
hammered at the event.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
it's
it.
so out of alignment. It's really unfortunate for our profession because I do feel like sometimes the people, if you are sitting in that chair, you have an obligation to take care of yourself.
Probably.
Yeah, and if you're not taking care of yourself, then you've got to figure that out. And there are a lot of people in this profession that are not doing that. Yeah. It's like, doctors that don't take care of themselves and pilots that fly planes drunk. I mean, it's not great. It's not a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, can we just say really quickly, were you at dinner last night?
Yes.
Okay. Why did Joe have that guy tell a story of finding his dead neighbor? That was the worst thing in the entire world.
It was interesting. Yeah. And I thought what was even more interesting is everybody laughed at the end because it was so awkward.
Well, I was waiting for some punchline to come that
there
never
wasn't.
came.
No, the punchline was somebody was dead.
I think we uncomfortably laughed. I think that's what that was.
No, I think it was really young. Yeah, it was odd. It was very odd. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Great.
The only thing I would say is I don't know that Joe knew that he was. He probably knew it was going to go that way. Yeah.
So listen, we need you to fight the good fight,
I'm going to fight it.
and I need you to definitely.
I'm going to hold you accountable a little bit to this like hateful group text.
Well, I'm good, but I'm going to hold you accountable
Here,
to
you know
being
what
the
you
no
should
man
do?
for Joe.
Put me on it, and I can intervene in real time.
You can't. This is like guy stuff.
Oh,
most
it's
of it.
like bro code.
Well, one of them's guys and girls. One of them is just guys, but it would just be, it wouldn't even bro code, just like that group code.
See, I would be like the angel out there because nobody would even know. They'd see this random number come up that was like, please be kind. Yeah. You kind of have to admit that's an awesome idea. It's a radical transformation.
Can I get your number though, and I can just say, hey, I just want to be kind today, and you can be like, yes, Matt, go do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to get yours, and every once in a while, you're going to get a random text message that's like, are you kind?
Seriously,
How's
and that'll
it going?
probably like snap me out of
With
it.
a smile face emoji.
Smile face emoji. But seriously, you have to, like I said, you have to be one of the no men to Joe. Just you have to.
Well, yeah. I mean, thankfully, again, like I'm really not a person making decisions. I just have one job. I'm interested in doing that one job well, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we fist bump?
Fist bump it out.
All right. Good talk.
Awesome. Thanks.
So here's something interesting. We did do what she said. We started texting. She was asking me, how am I doing? And you know what, guys? Real talk, I'm not doing that great. I've got some text groups that I'm in, and those of you that listen to the show that are in those text groups know that I'm not always great, is that I do go to the talking shit about people, and I do want to work on that. Just hearing myself talk about it, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. And I don't want to beat myself up for it, but I want to get better at it. And yes, I'm not saying be perfect and never poke fun of people, because we all know it's fun to poke fun, but I could definitely use some help with that. So thank you, Laura, for that. But she was one of the first to congratulate me when I started the Morning Gratitude, and she's been helping me with that. Morning Gratitude, what's that? Well, morning.gratitude on Instagram is something that a bunch of us are doing. You may have seen it because you follow me, or because you follow Amelia, or because you follow anybody who's been joining in on the fun, and it is awesome. And we are really working on, dare I say, a worldwide gratitude movement. It's super simple. You go to your Instagram account, you write 10 things you're grateful for, and you tag Morning Gratitude, and you tag where you live. It mostly is started in in stories, but it's also in feeds, and it's a great way to, if you are waking up with some negative thoughts, to shift it. If I'm waking up and I'm thinking about, my kids, they're so loud and crazy, and I can just stop and say, you know what? Here's the things I'm grateful for. My wife, my house, my phone, that I get to do this for a living. I'm just rattling off things, but yours can be as serious or as not serious as you want them to. But it's making a big difference for me, and I hope it can with you. And if you have any questions about it, drop me a note. But it's the most exciting of all the things I work on, the various projects. It's the most excited new thing I've been working on for a while. So I'm going to say that I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you listen to this show. Am I talking to you? Like, who am I talking to right now? You. Yep, I'm talking to you. I know you think I'm not. I know you think I'm talking to other people, but I'm speaking to you, listener of this podcast. Headphone in your ears. Are you running? Are you working out? Are you in the car? Are you at your desk? Are you walking the dog? I'm talking to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for helping make my life better. You make my life better because you enjoy this show. You tell other people about it. You tell me it brings you value. And when you say thank you to somebody, you just can't help but feel good. Wow. That's as heavy as I've been in a while. Gotta run.